For the first time, I'm actually outside touching grass. Actually, I'm holding a piece of grass right now. Look at this. Can't. But, I wrote a thing on Marx and stuff. And unfortunately, I was dragged outside. I have to sit here and do nothing. Going to a restaurant because Father's Day or something. But it's all fine and dandy. Dandy, yeah. You know, I wrote a little thing while listening to some stupid sources of theory and stuff, and bored again not the first time, but again, from a while. And I wrote a thing on Lenin and his utopianism. It's just a fuck ton of fancier. No, actually, that's a huge ad. I'm not gonna touch it because it will bite me, but I'm gonna move away. Okay, yeah. So, I'm gonna start reading it out now. This is class anything philosophy. Okay, that's just straight up a wasp. I'm gonna leave. Fuck that. That was a wasp. Okay, that's enough for wasp. Two wasps. All I wanted was please to talk about stupid Marx, and instead it was two wasps. This is why I never go outside. And that's barbed wire, so I'm not going there either. Nice, hooray. More barbed wires. Like seriously, there's a lot of barbed wires here. Okay, I came to a place with less wasps. I might have a good feeling about this. There's barbed wires, but you can't have perfection in life. It's a myth. I mean, other than me, but I'm just awesome like that. Damn. Okay, so critique. Yes, I have my critique right here. Marxism. Wow, that's a crazy way to write. Fuck you. No. Fucking worms. God, I can't have shit in life. Marxism. I don't think Lenin was correct or a complete and true successor of Marx. And, well, yes, Lenin did achieve a system of jumping ahead and fixing adaptation of Marxism in underdeveloped Russia. But his methods and the background of his ideas were not Marxist at all. He was a Russian socialist, and his system, despite working for a while, was set to collapse or need measures that would not work for developed or true capitalist countries. Lenin was using a utopian socialist ideology which required false and forced democracy to create a leap ahead. It works, but it's unethical and not scientific in the way that it doesn't fit into the Marxist dialect. It cannot lead to communism in any way, only develop the nation, like how fascism is outside of the dialectic as a last resort. Leninism is outside of the dialectic as a great leap forward. Maoism is the adaptation of Leninism into China, where by allowing the rising bourgeoisie to rule, they created Leninist capitalism under the falsity of socialism, which is what led to the Denghism ideology. Ultimately, through Denghism is the evolution of Leninism, achieving the same goal outside the dialectic, but in a capitalist way. It is continuously industrializing. The thing about communism is that all socialist states have always sought to achieve it in ways that, in reality, only preserve the socialist system in its acceleration. People often point to China or Russia as proof of working Leninism, or that Leninism working means that it is Marxist. but Leninism working means really that it isn't Marxist at all. Leninism's true goal is accelerating capitalism, well, not capitalism, capital, and developing the underdeveloped land under socialist, utopian socialist ideas and control, which leads to a functional system that improves, yes, but will never evolve. Although the issue of democracy and Leninism as both too much democracy and trust in the people, yet too little trust in the people at all, vanguard, it's such a strange yet real contradiction, where people have the choice to, fuck up their choices, such as democracy usually goes, but also no choice to make certain messes, such as reactionary ones. It is an issue they have yet to resolve. Marxism-Leninism truly is just Leninism's system put to praxis, its model of utopian socialism that works in its useless goal. I don't really like many communistic theories as well, like this council communists, due to their extreme reliance on democracy and people's choice. That's always right. I think democracy is quite unstable and a difficult system in reality. So although I cannot critique it because unless in praxis there are bound mistakes there, it hasn't been put to praxis, so I can't really say anything about it yet. Along with communizationists for their insanity and revisionism, they have completely left Marxism in any form. Other revisionists like social democrats tend to turn capitalist and create a form of soft corporatism where workers are practically deluded with false benefits to stop revolution and take labor from poorer nations to help themselves and such. Reformists are utopian as they believe in fixing a system within the system when they have no control of the system from inside. It is a contradiction in of itself, and although I disagree with Zizek heavily due to his idealism, he understood culture in a way, although in an economic way, and how neoliberalism gained control over everything as the ultimate synthesis of class and culture. I enjoy his writings quite a lot, and admire him. I also enjoy yet disagree with Kropotkin. I love his mutual aid idea, but it's insufficient for an actual society. Maoism is a false ultra-progressivism and led to the capitalist rise of China through Denghism because of the liberal acceptance of capitalism. His cultural leap fucked up China and made a new culture instead of getting rid of culture. He just replaced one ideal tyrant with another one. Stalin and the Marxist-Leninist movement, despite being the Leninist practice, still goes against Leninism in general. Lenin hated nationalism and believed Marxism cannot use the power and delusion of national identity without corruption growing, despite not really being Marxist. All his inspirations were all Russian socialists who really disagreed with Marxism on a lot and did not trust the proletariat. Without corruption growing, if they use the power and delusion of national identity. Nationalism is the true power, yes. You can see that with the fascists. People will be deluded and lied to and happy so easily by bigger purposes. But that same power over people will cause corruption. It screws up democracy entirely and blinds the proletariat of the international socialism. It is necessary for internationalism to be held up above the nation or they will be blinded. Stalin also revisioned many Leninist points to fit Marxist terminology and revisioned Marxism to fit Leninism. He may not have completely changed Leninism or Marxism to an unrecognizable form, but he for sure has gone against Lenin's word on the national question and discarded many Marxist doctrines that are less well known. His economic system is also eerily similar to the social democrats or soft corporatists as they imply themselves to be. Truly I dislike Stalin, although for much of the misunderstandings of Marx I blame Engels. Marx will always be using Hegel in his dialect. The way Stalin has misconstrued Marx makes him seem like a Fichtian. But his theory of capital is Hegelian, and he elaborates on his Fichtian dialect and his use in Hegelian Marxism. He is not taking away any sort of idealistic shell or completely abandoning Hegel. He uses it to his cost. So Stalin's writings misconstrues him, as so did Engels. He is not as they say. Though I thoroughly enjoy the system that the Leninists have created, it is nice, it is better than capitalists. But it's not truly communist, just utopian socialism, a beautiful utopian project except for China, fuck China, North Korea too, because they're revisionist, and that's behind Marxist theory to focus on authoritarianism and a sort of leader-based thing where you cannot achieve the Marxist utopia. Just, but still, let me visit North Korea though, because that's on my bucket list. It's not real socialism. And I was supposed to write more, but I fell asleep. So I'm just gonna post this. But overall, Lenin had many sources that were not Marxist, and he did not trust the proletariat to take over as a dictatorship. His idea of how the vanguard worked was especially revisionist and not for the proletariat. I haven't really found any other sources for Marxism yet. But all I want to say is that Lenin is not the correct way. Yeah, I guess I could compare it to a technocracy, but it's really not.